They say silence is golden, but in the corporate world, silence is how thieves thrive. I was supposed to stay quiet, take the pay cut, and keep working. But my silence wasn't just costing me money, it was making someone else filthy rich. My name is Sarah Whitmore. I was a senior account manager at one of Chicago's top marketing firms. I'd just come out of a messy divorce and was trying to rebuild my life, one paycheck at a time. I worked hard, never missed deadlines, stayed late, hit my targets. But none of that mattered the day I checked my new salary slip. $74,000, down from $92,000. No warning, no explanation, just a generic email from HR, temporary salary adjustment due to market conditions. But here's the kicker. The company had just posted record-breaking profits. Something smelled off. I stared at my computer screen, hands trembling with rage. $18,000 gone. Just like that. My apartment rent, car payments, and student loans suddenly felt heavier. I was drowning in numbers that didn't add up. My phone buzzed. A text from Laura, my best friend at work. Check your salary slip. Now. Laura stormed into the break room, face flushed. They cut mine too, by $15,000. She slammed her coffee mug on the counter. This makes no sense. We weren't the only ones. The whispers spread through our floor like wildfire. Dan from creative, cut. Maria from digital, cut. But strangely, nobody from the executive team seemed affected. In fact, they were all smiles during the morning meeting. We started digging. Our marketing department had crushed every target this quarter. Client acquisitions were up 30%. Customer retention had never been higher. The company's stock had jumped 15% after our latest campaign launch. I pulled up our internal performance dashboard. Our team's metrics were better than ever. Sky-high conversion rates, record engagement numbers, glowing client feedback. It doesn't add up, I whispered, scrolling through the data. The company's booming. Why slash our salaries now? Laura leaned in close, her voice barely audible. What if it's not about the company losing money, but about someone else trying to make more? Who? I asked. Greg Stanford, she replied. Our silk-tongued VP with the perfect smile and designer suits. Greg Stanford was the golden boy of executive leadership. Charismatic, smooth-talking, always ready with a motivational quote or a slap on the back. But lately something felt off about him. His Instagram is private, Laura said, scrolling on her phone. But I have an idea. We created a fake account, Jessica from Detroit, complete with stock photos, fake friends, and a carefully crafted bio. Jessica loved marketing, hiking, and fancy cars. Greg's exact interests. It took 3 days of strategic likes and comments before Greg accepted Jessica's follow request. We're in, Laura whispered, showing me her phone screen. What we saw made my stomach turn. Brand new Rolexes, custom-made Italian shoes, Dom Perignon bottles popped in downtown penthouses, a shiny black Ferrari he definitely couldn't afford on his VP salary. But the final red flag came exactly 7 days after our salary cuts. Greg posted a carousel, new beginnings in the sky, tagging a luxury high-rise condo, and another photo with first-class tickets to Milan for him and 5 friends. That's $100,000 right there, I whispered. When did he get so rich? The next morning I came in early. The office was empty, except for the cleaning crew. Perfect. I logged into our finance portal, using the password Martha from accounting had given me last Christmas when I helped her finish year-end reports. What I found made my heart race. The company had indeed posted record profits, up 22% from last year. But our department's budget showed a sudden 30% overhead reduction. Meanwhile, the executive bonus pool had doubled. My fingers flew across the keyboard, taking screenshots and downloading files. The numbers were right there in black and white. Our salaries were slashed to pad the executive bonus pool. Before logging off, I checked one last thing. Greg's LinkedIn. There it was, posted just yesterday. Grateful to the board for recognizing our team's hard work with my biggest bonus yet. Blessed, hard work pays off. Our hard work, our stolen money, his bonus. I texted Laura immediately, found something. Meet me at the coffee shop across the street, now. My hands shook as I printed the evidence. This wasn't just unfair, it was, we need to report this to HR, Laura said, staring at the printouts spread across the coffee shop table. This is straight-up theft. I nodded, though a knot of worry tightened in my stomach. We need to be careful. Greg has friends everywhere. We scheduled a meeting with Jenna, the HR manager. She welcomed us with a practiced smile, her office filled with framed quotes about workplace harmony and team spirit. "What can I do for you ladies today?" she asked. We laid out everything: the salary cuts, the growing executive bonuses, Greg's sudden wealth. I pulled out the printouts, showing the clear connection between our pay cuts and his luxury purchases. Jenna's smile never wavered. "I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. This is serious, and I'll look into it immediately." She collected our evidence, nodding sympathetically. "Leave this with me." As we left her office, Laura squeezed my arm. She seemed to take it seriously, right? But something in Jenna's perfect smile bothered me. It never reached her eyes. By 4 p.m., we had our answer, when security showed up at our desks with empty boxes. "You're being terminated for unauthorized access to confidential financial information," the security guard said flatly. People stared as we packed our things. My cheeks burned with humiliation. Greg stood near the elevator, watching us with cold eyes. Jenna beside him, arms crossed. Later, I learned they were close friends, the kind who vacationed together in Bali. I was escorted out like a criminal from the building I'd helped grow for 5 years. "This isn't over," Laura whispered as we stood on the sidewalk, holding our sad little boxes. But it felt over. I lost my job. I lost my health insurance. I lost my financial footing. The next week was a blur of panic. My savings wouldn't last long. I called every recruiter in my network, only to hear the same hesitation in their voices. "I'm hearing some concerning things about you," one finally admitted. "Someone saying you breached confidentiality protocols." Greg, he was blacklisting us. I applied for 23 jobs, got 0 callbacks. My rent was due in 2 weeks. Desperation crept in like rising water. Then I remembered, Greg's ex-wife. Rumor had it their divorce was nasty. Finding Alicia Stanford wasn't hard. Her flower shop had a website with a contact form. I wrote a careful message. "Former employee of Greg's. Need to talk about financial discrepancies." I didn't expect a reply, but the next morning, my phone pinged. "Corner Cafe, 2 p.m., come alone." Alicia was nothing like I imagined. Where Greg was all flash and polish, she was simple, elegant, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "So," she said after I explained everything, "Greg is still stealing to fund his lifestyle." She didn't sound surprised. "Still?" My heart raced. She leaned forward. "Our divorce dragged on because money kept disappearing. Greg claimed his bonuses were small that year, but he somehow bought a boat. I never could prove where the money came from." "Did you tell your lawyer?" I tried, but Greg threatened to fight for full custody of our son if I made trouble. Her eyes hardened. I backed down. I felt a flicker of hope. "Would you be willing to talk now, if we could prove he's stealing?" Alicia glanced around nervously. "Meet me tomorrow, same time. I have bank statements you should see." As she left, she turned back. "Be careful. Greg doesn't just get angry, he gets even." Alicia came prepared the next day. She slid a folder across the table. "Look at the dates." Inside were bank statements showing large deposits to an account I didn't recognize, all coinciding with Greg's quarterly bonuses. But the amounts were far larger than any VP bonus should be. "He created a shell company in my cousin's name," Alicia explained. "Forced me to sign as a silent partner during our marriage. When we divorced, he generously let me keep the house if I signed over my interest." The most damning evidence was a transfer of $600,000 to an offshore account 1 week before filing for divorce, money he never declared to the court. "Why show me this now?" I asked. "Because my son turns 18 next month," she said simply. "Greg's custody threats won't work anymore." She handed me a USB drive. "Everything's here. Account numbers, transfers, the shell company paperwork. I kept copies of everything." "This could ruin him," I whispered. "That's the idea." Her smile was cold. "Use this, and burn him to the ground." As I left, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Is this Sarah Whitmore?" "Yes, this is Sarah," I answered cautiously. "This is Mary Lachlan, CEO of Whitestone & West. I need to speak with you about Gregory Stanford." My heart skipped. Mary Lachlan was a legend, the woman who built our company from nothing into a marketing powerhouse. She rarely visited our Chicago office, preferring to run things from New York. "How did you get my number?" I managed to ask. "That's not important. What's important is that I've heard some troubling things. Can you meet me tomorrow? The Peninsula Hotel, Suite 1440, 10 a.m. sharp. The line went dead before I could answer. I called Laura immediately. "You're not going to believe who just called me." "I know," she replied. "Mary Lachlan. She called me too." The next morning we met in the lobby of the Peninsula, both terrified and hopeful. The elevator ride to the 14th floor felt endless. When we knocked on Suite 1440, Mary herself opened the door. Tall, elegant, with steel gray hair and eyes that cut right through you. "Come in," she said, stepping aside, "and tell me exactly how Gregory Stanford has been stealing from my company." Mary Lachlan's hotel suite had been transformed into a war room. Laptops, documents, and whiteboards filled the space. Two people in suits, a man and a woman, sat quietly in the corner, taking notes. "These are from my legal team," Mary explained. "Everything you say is protected." Apparently, during a surprise visit to the Chicago office, Mary had overheard employees discussing our firing. She'd already been suspicious. Small discrepancies in quarterly reports had caught her attention months ago. "Greg blamed it on data migration issues," she said, disgust clear in her voice. "I never trusted him, but I needed proof." We laid everything out. The salary cuts, the bloated executive bonuses, Greg's excessive spending, Alicia's documents. The female lawyer whistled low. "This is textbook embezzlement." Mary studied the numbers we'd gathered. "These vendor codes, they're fabricated. And these consultant fees?" She tapped the screen. "No legitimate consulting company uses a Gmail address." She looked up at us, determined. "I need you both back, off the books. You'll work directly for me, investigating every cent Greg has touched in the last 3 years. "What about our jobs?" Laura asked. Mary's smile was wolfish. "When this is over, you'll have any position you want. But first, we're going hunting." Operation Paper Trail began the next day from a small office in Mary's hotel. Our mission: trace every suspicious transaction in Greg's department. We started with vendor payments. Greg had authorized millions to companies we'd never heard of: Strategic Vision Partners, Next Gen Solutions Group, Elite Market Dynamics. "These sound so generic, they must be fake," Laura muttered, digging through incorporation records. She was right. All 3 were registered within the last 2 years. All had the same registered agent. All listed their business address as a virtual office space in Delaware. I cross-referenced the payment dates with Greg's Instagram. Each major vendor payment was followed by a luxury purchase: a watch, a weekend trip, a sports car. "Look at this," I called to Laura, pointing at my screen. "Strategic Vision Partners' tax ID is registered to someone named Tomas Gray." Laura's eyes widened. "Greg's mother's maiden name is Gray." We dug deeper. Tomas Gray was Greg's cousin. The same cousin who appeared in Greg's Milan photos, drinking champagne on a yacht. "We've got him," I whispered, downloading the evidence. "Family fraud." Mary walked in as we were compiling our findings. "Good work, but this is just the beginning. Tomorrow, we follow the consultant money." The consultant retainer was Greg's masterpiece: $45,000 monthly payments to a Dr. Robert Wagner for strategic market analysis. Over 2 years, that added up to over $1 million. "Has anyone ever met this Dr. Wagner?" Mary asked during our morning briefing. "Never," Laura replied. "But his reports were always included in the executive summaries." I checked Dr. Wagner's credentials. His website listed a PhD from Cornell, which Cornell had no record of. His profile picture was a stock image. His business phone went straight to voicemail. The emails were our breakthrough. All correspondence from Dr. Wagner came from rwagner@marketingsite-global.com. I ran a domain search. The website had been registered 2 years ago, right when the payments started. The clever part? The IP address from Wagner's emails traced back to a very familiar location: Greg's home Wi-Fi network. "He's sending emails to himself," I said, stunned by the simplicity of the scam. "Creating fake analysis reports, approving the payments, and pocketing the cash." Mary shook her head in disgust. "We need the money trail. Where are these consultant payments going?" That answer came from Greg's assistant, who'd grown suspicious when she kept scheduling calls with a consultant who never showed up. "Check Cayman National Bank," she whispered over coffee. I saw the account number once when I was organizing his files. The shell company was our next target. Alicia's documents showed Greg had created Pinnacle Investment Holdings during their marriage, supposedly for family wealth management. With Mary's authorization, we hired a forensic accountant who specialized in tracking hidden assets. He confirmed our suspicions. Pinnacle was nothing but a money laundering operation. The lawyer who set it up was a shady character named Victor Marsh. His firm specialized in creative asset protection. I posed as a potential client and called his office. I was referred by Greg Stanford, I said. I need similar services, quickly. Marsh took the bait. Ah, one of Greg's friends. He's one of our best clients. What are you looking to protect? I need a new corporate identity before quarterly audits, I said, recording every word. Something untraceable, like Greg's setup. Marsh chuckled. Greg said the same thing, urgent before audits hit. We created his Wyoming LLC in just 3 days. Nobody can trace those funds now. That's exactly what I need, I replied, feeling sick but triumphant. After hanging up, I played the recording for Mary and her legal team. The company lawyer smiled for the first time. This is gold. Conspiracy to commit fraud, explicitly stated. Mary nodded. We're getting close. But Greg's smart. He'll destroy evidence if he gets suspicious. Her concern proved prophetic. That evening, we received an anonymous email. Greg's wiping servers next week. Move fast. The warning came from Alan in IT. Greg's ordered a system maintenance that will purge all backup files older than 6 months, he told us when we met him after hours. It's scheduled for next Tuesday. That would erase all the evidence from past quarters, Laura realized. We had to move faster. But we hit a wall. We needed access to Greg's personal files to complete the case. That night, I received an alert on the fake Instagram account. Jessica, is this really you? These photos look familiar. Greg was getting suspicious. He'd found similar stock photos online. Our window was closing. We need his passwords, Mary declared the next morning. Every executive has a backup drive with critical information. We find that, we find everything. Laura snapped her fingers. I remember Greg bragging at the Christmas party. He keeps all his passwords in what he called his dead man's drive. Said if anything happened to him, his lawyer would access it. How do we get to this drive? Mary asked. Laura and I exchanged glances. We could send him a phishing email, I suggested. Something that looks legitimate but captures his login credentials. Mary hesitated, then nodded. Do it. But be careful. We need this to be legally admissible. With help from Mary's IT security team, we crafted the perfect bait, a security alert that appeared to come from Google Drive itself. 1 hour later, we were in. Greg's Google Drive was a goldmine. Folders neatly organized by year and scheme. Consulting projects, special investments, expense reports. He didn't even try to hide it, Laura whispered as we scrolled through file after incriminating file. The most damning was a folder titled Milan Reimbursement 2024. Inside were dozens of fake invoices for client entertainment and market research, covering his luxury trip to Italy. We downloaded everything, our hands shaking with disbelief at Greg's arrogance. The folder Quarterly Adjustments contained spreadsheets detailing exactly how he'd engineered the salary cuts, complete with calculations of how much would flow to the executive bonus pool and his pocket. But the biggest shock came from a file named Contingency Payments. It listed people who received regular payoffs for keeping quiet, including Jenna from HR. $5,000 monthly, I read aloud. For consultant services. That's why she turned on us so quickly. The last file we opened was simply labeled Board Presentation. It contained Greg's speech for next week's board meeting, where he planned to propose even deeper cuts to our department. He was going to do it again, Laura said, her voice breaking with anger. He'd keep stealing until there was nothing left. Mary reviewed our findings with cold fury. We have everything we need, time to call in the authorities. Mary didn't waste time. By morning, she'd assembled a team of forensic accountants and outside counsel specializing in corporate fraud. The FBI was notified through proper channels. We need to be methodical, she told us. Greg has friends on the board. We can't risk any leaks. The evidence was organized into a formal whistleblower dossier, financial records, fake vendor details, shell company documentation, recorded conversations, and testimony from Greg's ex-wife. The smoking gun was an email from Greg to Jenna. Push through the department cuts ASAP. Need to finalize Milan plans. We'll make it worth your while. We worked around the clock, building an airtight case. The company lawyer reviewed every document, ensuring everything was obtained legally. What happens to Jenna and the others who helped him? I asked. They'll face consequences too, Mary replied. No one gets immunity. As we finalized preparations, an email notification popped up on the company intranet. Congratulations to Gregory Stanford, nominated for Executive of the Year by the Board of Directors. Laura nearly threw her laptop. Are you kidding me? Mary smiled thinly. Perfect timing. Let him feel invincible right before we strike. She picked up her phone. Time to set the trap. I'm scheduling his performance review for Friday morning. The trap was elegantly simple. Mary scheduled a special performance evaluation with Greg on Friday at 9 a.m. The calendar invite included a note discussing your Executive of the Year nomination and Q3 compensation package. Greg took the bait instantly, replying, "Looking forward to it." Behind the scenes, we prepared the boardroom. Hidden cameras were installed, recording equipment was tested, legal documents were printed and organized. The FBI would wait in an adjacent room, ready to act once Mary gave the signal. 2 agents had been briefed on every detail of our investigation. What if he denies everything? Laura worried as we ran through final preparations. He can deny all he wants, I replied. The evidence speaks for itself. That evening, Greg posted on Instagram, "Big day tomorrow, so grateful for the recognition, blessed executive life." The photo showed him in his penthouse, toasting with champagne. I couldn't sleep that night. After weeks of building our case, justice was finally within reach. I thought about all the employees who'd suffered because of Greg's greed, the single parents who struggled after their pay was cut, the talented people who left because they couldn't afford to stay. Morning came. I arrived early, heart pounding. Mary met me at the door, calm and focused. "Ready?" she asked. I nodded. More than ready. The stage was set. Now we just needed our villain to arrive. 9 a.m. The boardroom was ready. Mary sat at the head of the table, composed and regal. Laura and I flanked her, laptops open. The company's general counsel sat with 2 outside attorneys. FBI agents waited in the room next door, watching through a video feed. 9:05 a.m. Greg sauntered in, all smiles and confidence. He wore an expensive new suit and a gold tie clip. "Good morning, Mary. What a pleasant surprise to see you in Chicago." His smile faltered when he noticed the serious faces around the table. He didn't recognize the lawyers. "What's going on?" he asked, still standing. "And why are they here?" He pointed at Laura and me. "Please sit down, Gregory," Mary said coldly. "This isn't a performance review." Greg's face tightened, but he sat, straightening his tie with forced casualness. Mary slid a thick folder across the table. "Do you know what this is?" He didn't touch it. "I'm sure you're about to tell me. This is a complete record of your embezzlement, fraud, and financial misconduct over the past 3 years. Mary's voice was steel. "We know everything, Gregory. The fake vendors, the shell company, the offshore accounts, the bribes." Greg's face drained of color, but he quickly recovered. "That's absurd. I don't know what they've told you," he glared at us, "but they're disgruntled ex-employees spreading lies." Mary opened the folder. "Then explain why you've been emailing yourself as Dr. Robert Wagner." "This is ridiculous," Greg sputtered, his confident facade cracking. "I've grown this company's market share by 40%. Mary remained unmoved. "While stealing millions. Slide 3, please, Sarah." I projected Greg's own spreadsheets onto the wall, detailed calculations of how much he'd siphoned from each department's budget. "Those are planning documents," he stammered. "Slide 4, Mary continued. Bank statements appeared, showing transfers from company accounts to his shell corporation. Greg's eyes darted around the room, looking for allies or exits. Finding none, he switched tactics. "This is a misunderstanding. I can explain everything." "Please do," said one of the attorneys, pen poised over a legal pad. "We'd love to hear it." "These are legitimate business expenses," Greg insisted, sweat beading on his forehead. "Strategic investments the board approved." Mary raised an eyebrow. "The board approved your cousin's shell company? And Dr. Wagner, the consultant who doesn't exist? And your first-class trips to Milan with friends?" Greg's face hardened. "I want my lawyer present. I'm not saying another word." "Certainly," Mary replied, pressing a button on the conference phone. "Your lawyer is already here." A silver-haired man entered, not Greg's personal attorney, but the company's outside counsel. Mr. Stanford, he said gravely, I'm here to inform you that the company is pressing charges. Greg's composure shattered entirely. He slammed his fist on the table. You can't do this. I made this company. I brought in the biggest clients. His voice cracked with desperation. This is a setup. They're trying to frame me. He pointed wildly at Laura and me. They broke into confidential files. They should be arrested, not me. The lawyer calmly slid another document forward. We have testimony from your ex-wife about the $600,000 you hid during your divorce proceedings. That Greg's face went from red to ashen. Alicia would never. She already has, I said quietly. She provided bank records, transfer details, everything. Greg lunged across the table toward me, eyes wild with rage. You vindictive little... Before he could finish, the side door opened. 2 FBI agents stepped in, badges displayed. Gregory Stanford, one announced. You're under investigation for wire fraud, embezzlement, and tax evasion. We have a warrant to search your residence and seize your electronic devices. Greg collapsed back into his chair, the fight draining from him. This is a mistake, he mumbled. Mary stood, her expression cold. The mistake was thinking you'd get away with it. Security will escort you out. Do not attempt to access any company systems or contact any employees. As Greg was led away, he looked back once, his eyes burning with hatred. But beneath the anger, I saw something else. Fear. The trap had worked perfectly. The predator had become the prey. The aftermath was swift and severe. News of Greg's arrest spread through the company like wildfire. Employees gathered in shocked clusters, whispering and checking news sites. By afternoon, the story had hit the business press. Marketing executive arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Greg's face was plastered across financial news websites. Within hours, authorities froze his assets. The penthouse, the Ferrari, the offshore accounts, the luxury high-rise condo he'd just purchased was seized as evidence. Jenna from HR was placed on administrative leave, pending investigation. 3 other executives who'd benefited from Greg's schemes were being questioned. Laura and I watched the chaos unfold from Mary's temporary office, still processing everything. You think it's over? Laura asked. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You've made powerful enemies. Sleep with one eye open. I showed Laura the text. I don't think it's completely over, I replied. Greg had friends in high places. Mary entered, looking exhausted but satisfied. The board is in emergency session. They've unanimously voted to dismiss Greg and start criminal proceedings. She handed us each an envelope. Your signed agreements to return as full employees, with back pay for the weeks you were terminated, plus damages. I opened mine with trembling hands. The salary figure made me gasp, a 30% increase from my original pay. This is just the beginning, Mary said. I need people I can trust. The emergency board meeting lasted until midnight. By morning, the company had issued a press release. Whitestone and West announces leadership changes and new corporate governance policies. Mary called the entire Chicago office for a company-wide meeting. Hundreds of employees packed the main conference center, anxiety and curiosity filling the room. She stood before them, powerful and direct. Yesterday, we discovered a significant fraud within our executive team. This fraud directly impacted your compensation and our corporate integrity. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Effective immediately, all salary reductions will be reversed, with back pay issued next week. Cheers erupted. Furthermore, we're implementing new oversight policies to ensure this never happens again. Mary gestured for Laura and me to join her on stage. These 2 individuals risked everything to expose the truth. They exemplify the integrity this company was built on. The applause was overwhelming. Colleagues who'd watched us get escorted out now stood in ovation. Sarah, Mary said after the meeting, I want to create a new position, Vice President of Integrity and Ethics. The role would oversee compliance, financial transparency, and employee advocacy. I stared at her, stunned. You want me to become an executive? I need someone who's proven they'll stand up for what's right, regardless of personal cost. She handed me the job description. The salary is appropriate for the responsibility. The figure was twice what I'd been making before the cut. I didn't say yes immediately. The job offer weighed heavy in my hands as I walked through the office that had rejected me just weeks before. Employees smiled and congratulated me. But I still felt the ghost of humiliation from that day with security. I found myself standing outside Greg's former office, a corner space with floor-to-ceiling windows. The nameplate had already been removed. Inside, maintenance workers were packing his belongings into boxes for the FBI. Quite a view, isn't it? Laura said, joining me. I don't know if I should take it, I admitted. Part of me wants to walk away from this place forever. Laura squeezed my shoulder. Or you could make it better, ensure nobody else goes through what we did. I thought about the single parents in our department who'd struggled after the salary cuts. The junior employees who couldn't speak up for fear of retaliation. I'll do it on one condition, I told Mary later that day. Laura becomes head of employee advocacy, reporting directly to me. Mary smiled. Already done. The paperwork's on your desk. Both of your desks. I took a deep breath and signed the contract. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about rebuilding something better from the ashes of corruption. As I placed the pen down, I felt a chapter closing, and a new one beginning. Welcome to the executive team, Miss Whitmore, Mary said, extending her hand. This time, I took it without hesitation. 3 days later, the full story broke across major business publications. Headlines screamed, VP arrested after whistleblowers expose multi-million-dollar fraud. An executive caught red-handed, how 2 fired employees brought down a corporate criminal. Reporters called constantly, but Mary's PR team handled most inquiries. This is about corporate accountability, not personal publicity, she reminded us. The most satisfying moment came when Greg's lawyer announced he was pleading guilty to reduced charges in exchange for cooperation. He was naming others involved in similar schemes at previous companies. Alicia sent a brief text. He's taking a plea deal. Thank you for helping me close this chapter. Our department was transformed. The culture of fear Greg had created dissolved almost overnight. People spoke freely in meetings, knowing retaliation wasn't tolerated. My first official act as VP was establishing an anonymous reporting system for financial concerns. My second was reviewing every salary in the company to correct market adjustments that had unfairly targeted certain employees. One evening, as Laura and I worked late in my new office, she raised her coffee mug. To karma, she said with a grin. I laughed and clinked my mug against hers. To documentation and evidence. The view from the executive floor was impressive. But the real satisfaction came from knowing we'd earned our place here, not by stepping on others, but by standing up for them. 6 months later, I stood at the podium during our annual company meeting. 500 employees watched as I unveiled the new Ethics and Transparency Initiative. Last year, we learned a painful lesson, I began. That silence doesn't protect us. It only protects those who abuse power. Today, we're creating a company where speaking up is rewarded, not punished. I announced new profit sharing for all employees, transparent salary bands, and quarterly financial reviews accessible to everyone. The applause was deafening. My old desk now belonged to a bright new hire. My new office, once Greg's, had been completely remodeled. Where his awards and trophies once stood, I'd installed a simple plaque. Transparency, truth, tenacity. Greg's sentencing was next month. The prosecutors expected significant jail time, plus restitution. His Ferrari had been auctioned, with proceeds going to the employees most affected by his fraud. As the meeting ended, employees stopped to shake my hand or share stories of how the new policies had improved their work lives. One older woman hugged me tight. Thank you for standing up when it would have been easier to stay silent. I walked back to my office, remembering that terrible day when security escorted me out. The humiliation, the fear, the uncertainty. They told me to keep my head down and accept the injustice. Instead, I held it high and brought the house down. Every setback has a silver lining. Mine was worth $18,000, and justice for hundreds.